This is gonna be really short because the animation is also really short. But like a lot of people on TikTok were like, "Can you animate such a funny way?" And I was like, "Fine, I guess." Very short animation, but I think I really like it actually. Now that I think about it, I feel like I really like it, but it's very short because I didn't have many ideas. I mean, I did have one idea for this part, then one idea for the part where she's singing. It's funny how you're drinking, funny I'm at home, funny everybody knows something that I don't, etc. But that's like a whole separate thing. Maybe I'll animate that at some point. But anyways, we start with the title, right? And these are basically just clouds. These are just clouds. And the way I made this, these clouds are like right here close to the camera, but the plane is actually like over there, all the way on top, because this has to be big and has to be seen by like people, right? So, but the way I made this is basically I just added a normal text, like a text that was written like "you have such a funny way," and then I added a volume empty. It should be here, a volume empty, and then I added this modifier which is called the meshed volume, and the object was the text. So then this volume gets the shape of the text, and then you have to adjust the voxel amount. The higher it is, the better quality it is. And then a little bit of a volume displace so that I can move it and make it look like the clouds are actually moving. And on the texture of the volume displace, there is a clouds texture, and I just animated the size so that it would look like it's moving a little bit and like give it a bit of more something. I don't know. This one has a voxel amount of 300. If I were to put it at something like 50, it's gonna look like that. It's like basically the higher the voxel amount, the more quality the clouds are gonna have. So that's pretty much it for the title. And then the plane, I got it from CG Trader. This banner situation, I made it here. I think it should be here. So basically I just not animated, I just modeled this banner and I rendered it as an image, and I put the image as an image texture like on the material of the plane that is right here. So this plane is just like a regular plane with a bunch of subdivisions, and then the material is basically just that image of that banner on this thing. And then for it to move like this, as if it's like being affected by the air, I just added this wave modifier, and I adjusted it a little bit so that it would look like it's, flowing at the right speed. But that's really it for the title. After the title, the camera just pans downwards onto the house. This house, I got it from Sketchfab. I'm so sorry. I'm not about to model a whole house that's gonna be on frame for less than 70 frames. I think so. So I got it from Sketchfab, okay? Like, sue me if you want. But the rest of the road, I modeled it myself. So, okay? Sorry, I guess. And all these assets, these small assets, are also from Sketchfab, also the van. The logo. This logo, it really is not seen on the final render. Genuinely, it's not seen. I wish it was, but it's not. It just says Tommy's Moving Company. Why Moving Company? I don't know. Something said that I should just make something of like a moving company, and then I just made it, right? But basically I got this part, like the truck part, from somewhere on Google. And what is interesting is that actually on this truck, like without me editing anything, it already said Tom's Company below it, but I didn't even see it because it was like white text. I only figured that out when I imported here, so like that was like a coincidence. I was like, well, that's weird how it says like Tom's Company, and I was like gonna write Tommy's Moving Company below, so I don't know. But anyways, I wanted this thing to be blue like the text, but the thing is these two were together, so so this was one whole square, but I had to cut this part out basically. So if I like drag this out, it's not part, right? I had to cut this part out because I wanted this to have the same material as this, basically. And I just rendered this with an alpha channel, like set to transparent, so that I could import it back here on the main scene and paste it on the van if my laptop will cooperate. And I just took that image, that rendered image, and I put it over here on the back of, on the side of this van, so that it would look like the logo was like pasted on the van and part of the actual texture. But the thing is, the van moves very quickly, so I don't think it's seen at all, but like that's just something that I wanted to be there, I guess. For all of the vegetation, this is all Bagapie, all with the Bagapie add-on. And I've explained this before, but basically you just have to make yourself an asset browser, an asset library. I do not even ask me how to do that because I don't really remember. But basically you just have to make yourself an asset browser, and then you can drag and drop whatever you want to scatter on whatever surface you want over there. And then you select the object that you want to be scattered, and then you select the object that you want the scattering to happen, and then you press J and you click on scatter paint. Like I have this object and I wanted to scatter on this plane, I just press J and then I press scatter paint. and then it's gonna get you here, and you can just paint the object on. Why is it not painting? This is so embarrassing, Jesus Christ. But you have to have a lot of subdivisions on the thing, on whatever object you want. The thing is, this plane has like 4 vertices, so it's not gonna paint obviously, but you have to have a lot of subdivisions. But basically it's just that. Drag and drop, click on the object that you want to be scattered on, click on the object you want the scattering to happen on, click on J, scatter paint, and then you can just paint whatever you want. Leaves, bark, trees, etc. Then you can adjust it in this part. You can adjust how dense it is, the distance between the thing that you want to scatter, viewport display, the size, etc, etc, etc. There's this add-on called Gscatter. On Gscatter there's like already like a wind function, but on Bagapie, to my knowledge, there is not. So the way I made these look like they're actually moving is you select the object that's being scattered on. This looks like this because it's on proxy mode, by the way. But you select the object that is being scattered, you go on modifiers and you add a simple deform modifier over here. Select the axis that you want. For me, what makes more sense for this animation is the y-axis, and then you select bend, and I put this on 0. I add a keyframe. It doesn't really matter where on the timeline you are, but you just add a keyframe, and you go on the graph editor, open the modifiers, and add a noise modifier. Then basically you just have to adjust that so that it looks like it's natural. Usually for like grass and stuff like that, I will do a scale of 60 and like a strength of like 0.2. And then the thing is, this looks like this because so that my laptop doesn't crash, okay? But imagine this is like a piece of grass, and basically it just look at how it's like bending and moving, right? So you can just adjust these things to whatever you want. Maybe you want this to be quicker and stronger, you put a 30 and 40 or whatever you want. It's just an example, right? But you put that on the main, on the source, and it's gonna apply that to everywhere. And then the thing is, automatically when you scatter anything on Bagapie, it's gonna like give every single tiny grass clump a random rotation. So it's all gonna like, it's gonna look natural. Basically, it's gonna look natural. But that's how I animated the wind. And then for this part near the graves, this part I used just Gscatter. I'm just gonna show you the dandelions instead, but there's like this thing called shepherd's purse, but it doesn't matter, it's the same thing, same process. I added this plane, and it has a transparent material so that it's not seen on the render, but it's right there. And I scattered the dandelions on there. And the thing is, with these, with Gscatter, you can go over here on Gscatter, and you can go on rotation and add an effect layer, and the wind is already there. So the wind will be applied, and you can just change these simple parameters like speed, strength, detail, scale, whatever, and it's gonna move like it's supposed to move, like wind. Okay, back to the animation stuff. Where were we? The camera pans downwards. All this grass stuff, I'm gonna just disable that because we don't need to see it. The camera just zooms into this mailbox, and then I mean all this stuff is like lyrics, right? And then for this is the reference image I got for this sticker thing. This is just basic like build modifier stuff. I don't think I need to explain that. This part where she says, "And what a strange coincidence," the first thing I thought of was obviously just using the track list from Short and Sweet, just like I did for Please Please Please, because like coincidence is like right there. So I don't know, I just thought that was like a nice throwback to Short and Sweet, let's just say. For the grave marks, I don't know. I just modeled this simple cube thing. This is obviously all text, so I added all the text and I made sure that it was clipping. Clipping is like touching the mesh, like penetrating the mesh. It was clipping enough. And then I added a Boolean modifier. Basically, a Boolean modifier is something that you add so that an object can carve into another object. So basically, if I have this cube, and then there's this really useful add-on called Bool Tool. If you turn that on, you can, let's say I just want this cube to carve into this grave marker. I add the cube is there. I select the cube, I select the grave marker, and then I press Control minus, and if God is on my side, it's supposed to work properly and not embarrass me, and it did. So it just carves into that. So this is what I did for all of the text so that it would have like this engraving thing, and you can move it around and whatever. I probably shouldn't do that because my laptop is going to crash. Let me stop. But basically that's the point, right? That's how I got the text to be on the grave marker. And then I just selected all the slots where the text were, and I gave that a black material, and then the rest is just wood. And then from here, the camera just turns around and it turns back into this phone, and it just rotates. And for this effect here, I basically just moved, it's called like a dolly zoom. I basically just moved the camera in while pushing the focal length out. So as the camera is going in, focus on the focal length is just decreasing and decreasing. So it gives like this like weird perspective, distorted situation. And that's the end of the animation. That's That's it for Such a Funny Way. Listen, longer animations are coming. I just want to be putting stuff out so that nobody forgets that I exist. Anyways, but that's the point. Such a Funny Way. That's how I animated Such a Funny Way, and I hope you enjoyed it because I also like it. And that is it. And I will see you in a few weeks. Or a week. Or tomorrow. I don't know. Okay, let me shut up.